So it's been rumored for years now that Ableton's been working on a compact alternative to their push controller. Well, let me introduce you to the Move, and it is full of surprises, so let me give you a quick rundown. So yes, this is an Ableton Live controller, but it's actually also a standalone 4-track Groovebox. And I say 4 tracks, but actually on each track you can have a 16-track drum rack. So you can kind of think of this as a 64-track sequencer with 4 buses. We've got 32 velocity sensitive pads to work with Polyphonic Aftertouch, so that's super cool. We've got a TR style step recorder along the bottom. The 8 knobs across the top, just like the push and a number of Ableton Live controllers out there. We have battery power, so it runs on USB-C and also charges via USB-C, and it lasts about 3 to 4 hours. There's an audio input on the back for sampling. There's also an inbuilt microphone. I've said a number of times in videos now how I love it when samplers have inbuilt mics. It just makes everything so much easier and quicker, so really cool to see that. And there's a pretty nifty way to slice up your samples on the fly to a drum rack as well. We've got an extra USB input on the back to plug in a MIDI controller, like a keyboard or something. It also has Wi-Fi and Ableton Link built in, as you probably expect, and you'll be able to move sets and presets to and from the Move via USB or Wi-Fi. In controller mode, it basically behaves like any other Ableton Live controller. You navigate around the set with the arrow keys, the knobs across the top map to your macros, you can launch clips, but uniquely you do have the TR style step recorder. And of course, you'll be able to utilize these pads with the Polyphonic Aftertouch for any of Ableton Live's instruments. Now, interestingly, the Move does introduce a feature that's completely unique in the Ableton cinematic universe. So we're in a drum rack now. Say we want to play this 808 chromatically. Within Ableton, within a drum rack, you would ordinarily have to draw in automation, which isn't fun. You would just end up making a new MIDI track and slapping a sampler instrument on that and doing a separate track for it. But now we can play pads chromatically within a drum rack. So super stoked we finally have that in the Ableton universe. This has been a limitation with Ableton Live for as long as it's existed, and a fairly significant advantage of other platforms like Native Instruments Machine, MPCs, various software plugins and hardware platforms. So it's awesome to see finally Ableton are going down this path. It's a very popular technique, not just with 808 bass lines, but also with slicing up a vocal a cappella, for example, and pitching each slice individually. So it's super cool to see that we have that included. In standalone mode, we can have loops up to 16 bars long. And if you like to explore polymetric patterns, you can absolutely do that. You can say have a 7-step sequence. And if you hold shift, you can go up past 1 bar into like 17, 18, 19 step sequences. If we hold shift, we've got a number of secondary functions along the bottom here. So we've got scale, groove, metronome, quantize. You can double your loop. There's a number of other things in here. Go into set mode and you can choose your set. And worth noting as well, these sets change instantly. So potentially some creative things you could explore there. Now, as for instruments and effects that are compatible with Move, we've got the drift synth, the wavetable synth, chorus delay, reverb, the drum sampler, the melodic sampler, and a few other things, but it's basically a really streamlined selection of Ableton Live devices. The editing on these instruments is fairly limited. You're not going to be creating these crazy wavetable patches from scratch on the Move, but you can edit presets and resave them, or you can bring in presets from Ableton Live onto the Move as long as they follow the compatibility criteria. Now let's touch on how it compares to the push, and let me just bring the push into the overhead shot and you can kind of get a clear comparison of the size difference. So it is dramatically smaller, and it's also much lighter than this standalone edition push. So push is still very much the king here. You have access to all the Ableton Live devices. You've got a lot more hands-on control with a lot more buttons, much more connectivity. You've got the full MPE pads rather than just Polyphonic Aftertouch. You've got the ribbon controller along the side as well. So if you're looking for that no compromises sort of Ableton Live hardware experience, then push is still the go. But if you are looking for something smaller, lighter, more portable and easier to fit on your desk, then maybe the Move is the go. There's easily enough to work with here to get some beats down and some ideas happening, and the workflow is actually really fast, which is great for getting you in that creative flow. So that's all we have time for. Personally, I'm very surprised by this release. I did not expect Ableton to continue down the standalone path, but it's ticking a lot of boxes. I think all you beautiful people who are just starting your musical journeys will love the Move. It's a really fast and easy workflow to learn, and let's be real, it's a friendlier price tag as well. But even for old hats like myself, there's plenty to like here. The 16 pitches mode in the drum rack is something we've been asking for years now. Inbuilt microphone for easy sampling fun. And even just having a compact controller with Polyphonic Aftertouch that can easily fit on your desk if you've got a bunch of other hardware, that's super cool. Now, these will be available in Australia exclusively at Store DJ and Manny's, our sister store, so pop into any of our stores around Australia if you want to try before you buy. That's it for today. My name is Mike. I'll catch you on the next one.